The cold light of a dying star bathed the bridge of the stalwart horizon in shades of muted gold and gray. Captain Elias Mercer stood at the observation window, his hands clasped behind his back, his reflection a faint outline against the void. A man of broad shoulders and quiet intensity, his face bore the kind of lines etched by responsibility rather than age. Around him, the soft hum of alien voices mingled with the beeps and clicks of the ship's advanced systems. "Captain, the transmission repeats every 17 seconds. "It's faint but consistent," said Deacon Walker, his lead engineer. Walker, with his sharp jawline and perpetually grease-stained hands, had spent years coaxing ancient Terran tech into coexistence with the sleek alien systems that dominated the galaxy. Mercer turned. Human origin? Without question. Walker's voice held a note of awe. Old. Very old. The alien members of the crew exchanged uneasy glances. The Slithany pilot, a wiry being with translucent skin that shimmered under the bridge lights, leaned forward. "Captain, investigating a dead language from a dead world seems unwise." Mercer's jaw tightened. He had heard that tone before, a polite dismissal laced with veiled contempt. In the 100,000 years since Earth's destruction, the descendants of humanity had been scattered, diluted among the stars. Those like Mercer, who carried both the blood and memory of Earth, were anachronisms in a galaxy that had moved on. "It's not dead to me," Mercer said, his voice steady. "And I'm not ignoring a human distress signal." The Slithany shifted, their semi-liquid form undulating in agitation. "The Council will not approve. You know their stance on unauthorized investigations." Mercer's lips twitched in a faint smile. "The Council isn't here." Before the pilot could protest, a sharp chime rang out. "Incoming transmission," Walker announced. The holo-display flickered to life, revealing a towering alien with a crystalline exoskeleton and a voice like grinding ice. Arthur Kellen, an emissary of the Galactic Council, wasted no time on pleasantries. "Captain Mercer," Arthur intoned, "you are veering dangerously close to restricted space. State your intent." "We've detected a Terran signal," Mercer replied evenly. "It warrants investigation." The emissary's jagged face darkened. "Earth is a cinder, Captain. There is nothing to find but ruin. The Council's decree is clear. No vessels are to enter uncharted zones without express permission." Walker muttered under his breath, but Mercer remained calm. "And if I ignore the decree, then the consequences will be immediate. Your ship will be marked rogue. You and your crew will be pursued until you are eradicated." The weight of the ultimatum hung in the air. Mercer's eyes narrowed, his mind calculating the odds. Arthur's crystalline gaze bore into him, unwavering. "We're not rogue," Mercer said finally. "We're explorers. I'll log our findings and submit them to the Council." "Proceed," Arthur said coldly, "and it will be your last mission." The transmission ended abruptly, the screen going dark. For a moment, the bridge was silent. Then Walker let out a low whistle. "That went well." The Slithany turned to Mercer. "Captain, with respect, we cannot defy the Council. To do so is to condemn ourselves. Is this signal truly worth that risk?" Mercer looked at his crew, the weight of leadership pressing on his chest. He saw the doubt in their eyes, the fear. But beneath it, he saw something else. A spark of curiosity, the same ember that had driven humanity to reach for the stars long before Earth had fallen. "The Council has forgotten what it means to take risks," Mercer said, his voice steady. "They've forgotten that every breakthrough, every step forward, comes from defiance. If this signal is human, if there's even a chance that it holds something valuable, we owe it to ourselves and to Earth to find out." He turned to Walker. "Prepare a probe. I want a full scan of the source." The Slithany made a sound somewhere between a sigh and a hiss. "You are gambling with all our lives." Mercer met their gaze. "Yes, I am." Minutes later, the stalwart horizon deployed a sleek probe, its metallic frame glinting as it descended toward the planetoid emitting the signal. The crew watched the data feed in tense silence, their apprehension growing with every meter closer to the surface. Walker's fingers danced over his console. Readings are strange. The surface is covered in some kind of organic material. It's emitting low-level energy signatures, almost like he froze. Like what? Mercer demanded. Like it's alive, Walker said, his voice low. Before Mercer could respond, the transmission feed from the probe dissolved into static. Then, cutting through the interference, a single word emerged, a word that sent a chill through every human on the bridge. Run. It was a voice, undeniably human and filled with raw terror. It repeated once, twice, then fell silent. The bridge erupted into activity. Walker scrambled to recover the feed while the Slithanese shouted over him, urging the captain to retreat. But Mercer remained still, his mind racing. "Can we retrieve the probe?" he asked. Walker hesitated. "It's risky but possible. If we get too close, whatever's down there might." "Do it," Mercer ordered. The Slithanese stepped forward, their form rippling with frustration. "Captain, this is madness. That message is a warning, not an invitation. We must leave." Mercer shook his head. "Warnings are meant to be understood. We're staying." The Slithany recoiled as though struck, their features hardening. "Very well. But when the council comes for us, remember this moment." As the crew worked to retrieve the probe, Mercer's thoughts turned inward. The voice haunted him, not just because it was human, but because of what it represented. Earth might have been destroyed, but its echoes still carried through the cosmos. Whatever lay ahead, he would face it. For Earth, for its legacy, and for the chance that somewhere in the darkness, humanity's story was not yet over. The stalwart horizon hung in the void, dwarfed by the monolithic council warship that now loomed before it. Its hull, a lattice of shimmering obsidian and pulsing blue veins, seemed alive, a stark reminder of the vast power the council wielded. Inside the horizon's bridge, a tense silence reigned, broken only by the rhythmic hum of systems and the muted breaths of its crew. Captain Elias Mercer stood at the center of the room, his posture rigid, his expression unreadable. Around him, the alien members of his crew shifted nervously, their gazes darting between the looming warship and the holo-display flickering to life before them. The council had responded with startling speed, as if they'd been watching and waiting for an excuse to intervene. The crystalline visage of Arthur Kellen materialized on the display, his jagged form radiating cold authority. His voice was sharp, cutting through the tense atmosphere like a blade. "Captain Mercer, you were warned. Explain your defiance." Mercer met Arthur's gaze without flinching. "We intercepted a human signal, a distress call. It warrants investigation. Your probe's intrusion into restricted space is a breach of council law," Arthur replied, his tone devoid of sympathy. "Your obsession with relics of a dead species blinds you to the consequences of your actions." "It's not obsession," Mercer countered, his voice calm but firm. "It's responsibility. That signal is a part of our history, our legacy. Ignoring it would be the real betrayal." Arthur's crystalline features twisted, a ripple of disdain passing through his translucent form. "Your history died with your world. What remains is irrelevant." A murmur spread among the crew, some alien officers nodding in quiet agreement, while others exchanged uneasy glances. Walker, standing beside Mercer, clenched his fists, his jaw tightening as he fought to contain his frustration. Mercer's voice hardened. "You don't get to decide what's relevant to us. Earth may be gone, but its legacy endures. And as long as there's even a fragment of it left, I'll fight to preserve it." Arthur's eyes glinted with something akin to amusement, though his tone remained icy. "And yet, here you are, outmatched and surrounded. Do you truly believe your defiance will achieve anything but your own destruction?" Mercer took a step closer to the display, his gaze unwavering. "I believe in what we stand for, and I believe the Council is afraid that humanity's legacy might remind the galaxy of what it once stood for. A silence followed, heavy and charged. Arthur's form shifted, his crystalline body refracting the dim light of the bridge. When he spoke again, his voice was laced with menace. "This is your final warning. Cease your investigation, relinquish the probe, and retreat. If you fail to comply, you and your crew will face annihilation." Walker broke the silence, his voice low but firm. "Captain, we can't take them head-on. Their ship could obliterate us with a single shot." Mercer turned to his crew, his expression resolute. "I didn't come this far to back down now. That signal is more than just a distress call. It's a chance to uncover the truth about what happened to Earth. If we retreat, we lose that chance forever." The alien pilot, their translucent skin shimmering with unease, spoke up hesitantly. "Captain, defying the Council will make us fugitives. The repercussions will follow us across the galaxy. I know the risks," Mercer said, his voice steady. "But I also know this. Every great discovery, every step forward, has come from those who were willing to take risks. If the Council wants to silence us, let them try. But I won't abandon this mission." The crew exchanged uncertain looks, the weight of the decision pressing heavily on each of them. Finally, Walker nodded, a spark of determination in his eyes. "I'm with you, Captain. Whatever it takes." One by one, the others voiced their support, though the tension in the room remained palpable. Mercer turned back to the holo display, where Arthur's image still loomed. "Your ultimatum is noted," Mercer said, his tone sharp and unyielding. "But we won't stand down. Do what you must." Arthur's crystalline form pulsed, the veins of blue light within him flaring briefly. "So be it. Prepare to face the consequences of your arrogance." The display winked out, leaving the bridge bathed in the dim glow of the ship's consoles. Alarms blared moments later, signaling the activation of the Council warship's targeting systems. The crew sprang into action, their movements quick and efficient as they prepared for the inevitable confrontation. "Shields up," Mercer ordered, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Evasive maneuvers now." The Horizon's pilot complied, the ship veering sharply as the first blast from the Council warship streaked past them, its energy trail illuminating the darkness. The bridge shook violently as a second shot grazed their shields, the impact rattling the crew but leaving the ship intact. "Status?" Mercer demanded. "Shields holding at 70%, Walker reported, his fingers flying over his console. "But we can't take many more hits like that." Mercer's mind raced, his thoughts a blur of strategies and possibilities. The Council warship was vastly superior, its firepower and defenses dwarfing their own. A direct confrontation was suicide, but retreat was not an option. "Prepare the probe for remote detonation," Mercer said, his voice calm despite the urgency of the situation. "If we can overload its energy core, we might be able to create a diversion." Walker hesitated, then nodded. On it, as the Council warship closed in, the stalwart Horizon twisted and turned, its movements unpredictable as it evaded the relentless barrage of fire. Mercer's gaze remained fixed on the view screen, his jaw set in determination. "Probe detonation ready," Walker called out. "Just give the word." Mercer waited, his instincts guiding him as he watched the warship's movements. Then, at the perfect moment, he gave the order. "Now." The probe's energy core overloaded, erupting in a blinding explosion that momentarily engulfed the warship in light and debris. The stalwart Horizon surged forward, using the chaos as cover to slip out of the warship's immediate range. "Did it work?" Mercer asked, his voice tight. "For now," Walker replied. "But they'll recover quickly. We need a plan, Captain." Mercer nodded, his mind already racing. The signal still called to him, a tantalizing mystery that demanded answers. The Council might have won this battle, but the war for humanity's legacy was far from over. "Set course for the signal's origin," Mercer ordered. "We're not done yet." The crew obeyed without hesitation, their determination matching their captain's. The stalwart Horizon vanished into the depths of space, leaving behind a council warship still reeling from the defiance of one man and his crew. The stalwart Horizon raced through the void, its engines burning hot as the council warship closed in. On the bridge, tension gripped every crew member. The dim light of the consoles illuminated their faces, beads of sweat glistening under the strain of their impossible situation. The signal's origin point lay just ahead, but the Council's pursuit loomed like a shadow that refused to break. Captain Elias Mercer stood at the command console, his gaze fixed on the tactical display. The warship's massive form was gaining, each volley of energy fire coming closer to breaching their weakening shields. Shields at 30%. Deacon Walker shouted from his station, his voice tight. His fingers danced over the controls, trying to coax more power from systems already stretched to their limits. Mercer turned to his pilot, a young Slithany with trembling hands on the control yoke. "Bring us in close to the planetoid. Hug the surface and prepare for evasive maneuvers. Walker, divert power to the engines. Whatever it takes to keep us moving. You want to hide from them down there?" Walker asked, incredulous. "I want to force them to think twice before firing on us," Mercer replied. "The closer we are to the surface, the greater the risk of collateral damage. It might buy us time." Walker hesitated, then nodded. "It's a gamble, but it's better than nothing." The Horizon plunged toward the jagged, uneven terrain of the planetoid, its hull groaning under the strain of the tight descent. Behind them, the Council warship adjusted its trajectory, its ominous presence a constant reminder of the stakes. "Captain, I'm detecting increased energy fluctuations from the signal's source," the Slithany reported. "It's almost as if it's responding to our proximity." Mercer leaned over the display, watching as the energy reading spiked. The planetoid surface was a twisted labyrinth of blackened rock and biomechanical growths, pulsating with an unnatural rhythm. The signal pulsed stronger now, filling the bridge with a low hum that seemed to reverberate in their very bones. "Whatever's down there," Walker said, "it's waking up." Mercer's jaw tightened. "Then we need to find out what it is before the Council stops us." As the Horizon skimmed the surface, a blast from the warship struck the ground behind them, sending a shockwave rippling through the planetoid. The ship bucked violently, alarms blaring as systems struggled to compensate. "Shields failing," Walker shouted. "We can't take another hit like that." Mercer's mind raced. They were outmatched and outgunned, with no hope of victory in a direct confrontation. But surrender wasn't an option. Not now. Not when they were so close to uncovering the truth behind the signal. "Prepare a ground team," Mercer ordered. "Walker, you're with me. We're going to the source." The Slithany pilot turned, their translucent features pale with fear. "Captain, if you leave the ship, we'll be vulnerable. The Council will destroy us." "They'll destroy us either way," Mercer said. "But if we can uncover the truth, maybe, just maybe, it'll be worth the sacrifice." Walker nodded grimly, grabbing his gear as Mercer led the way to the shuttle bay. The small team boarded a sleek, battered dropship, its engine sputtering to life as they descended toward the signal's epicenter. The Council warship loomed overhead, its weapons tracking them like the gaze of a predator. The planetoid surface was a nightmare of jagged cliffs and pulsating tendrils, the ground itself alive with unnatural energy. As the dropship touched down, Mercer and his team disembarked, weapons at the ready. The air was heavy, charged with an electric hum that made the hair on the back of Mercer's neck stand on end. "The signal's coming from below us," Walker said, consulting his scanner. "There's an entrance about 50 meters ahead." The team moved quickly, their boots crunching on the brittle, uneven ground. The entrance was a gaping maw of darkness, flanked by biomechanical growths that twitched and pulsed like living things. Mercer led the way inside, his weapon raised as they descended into the depths. The air grew colder, the hum of the signal louder, until it was almost deafening. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber, its walls lined with glowing, crystalline structures that pulsed in time with the signal. At the center of the room stood a massive, ancient machine, its surface covered in alien script and faint traces of Terran insignia. Walker approached it cautiously, his scanner whirring. This tech is a hybrid, Terran and something else. Something I don't recognize. Mercer's gaze swept the room, taking in the alien architecture and the faint traces of humanity's lost legacy. The machine seemed to hum with anticipation, its energy building as if it had been waiting for them. Before he could respond, a new sound filled the chamber, a voice, clear and unmistakably human, echoing from the machine. "Run." The word sent a chill through Mercer's spine. It was the same voice from the signal, but now it carried a sense of urgency that was impossible to ignore. Walker stepped back, his eyes wide. "Captain, I'm detecting a massive energy buildup. This thing is charging something." Mercer turned to his team. "We need answers. Now." Walker hesitated, then began interfacing with the machine, his hands moving quickly over its ancient controls. The hum grew louder, the crystalline structures around them pulsing faster as the machine's energy spiked. "I've accessed the data," Walker said, his voice tight. "This thing, it's a weapon, or a failsafe. It was designed to contain something that destroyed Earth." Mercer's heart pounded. "Can it still be activated?" Walker's expression was grim. "Yes, but if we trigger it, it'll destroy everything within a 100-kilometer radius, including us." The voice echoed again, louder this time, filling the chamber with its desperate plea. "Run." Mercer stared at the machine, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. The council was closing in, the warship above them preparing to strike. The planetoid itself seemed alive, its biomechanical tendrils creeping closer with every passing second. He turned to Walker. "Set the failsafe. We'll trigger it manually, and by the horizon time to escape." Walker froze. "You can't be serious, Captain. If we do this..." "If we don't," Mercer interrupted, "the Council takes this weapon, and whatever destroyed Earth gets another chance to spread." The team exchanged glances, the weight of their mission clear in their eyes. Finally, Walker nodded, his hands moving quickly as he activated the failsafe. The machine roared to life, its energy spilling out in waves that shook the chamber. The crystalline structures began to fracture, their light growing brighter as the failsafe counted down. Mercer turned to his team, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Get back to the dropship." "That's an order." Walker hesitated, then saluted. "Good luck, Captain." As the team retreated, Mercer stood alone before the ancient machine, his hand hovering over the final control. The voice echoed once more, softer now, as if acknowledging his resolve. "Run." Mercer pressed the control,